Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast. Me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome my good friend Robbo to the show, where we're going to be talking about self-confidence in teenagers and adults. So, welcome to the show, Robbo. Robbo is a teacher, and he's very, very passionate about helping people develop their confidence. Me and Robbo play football together as well. In a great team, great lad. So yeah, Robbo, tell us a little bit about what actually inspires you so much to talk about this subject.
Inspired me to talk about this subject. Well, I've been wanting to come on your podcast for ages, Johnny, because you put so much. I know how much time and energy you put into this. I know you do it from a good place where you want to help people grow. So I've wanted to do whatever I can to help you do that. This topic, confidence, is because I see people grow from the age of, I'm a secondary school teacher, from the age of 11 up to 16. And I see them either make it in their own mind and achieve what they want to achieve at 16 or not. And that for me is a metaphor for when adults get into that situation, when they are trying to learn something, trying to achieve something, and whether they do achieve their goals or don't achieve their goals, the way that they approach those goals, the way that they respond to setbacks, and the way their confidence is going to waver along the way. I see this journey in young people over the course of 5 years, and I just think it's a metaphor for life. Especially, I'm a maths teacher, and maths is the one that you get your confidence knocked a lot, and that's life. You get your confidence knocked a lot in life, and the things that I see kids, the behaviors I see kids model that fly versus the behaviors that I see kids model that don't fly. And by behaviors, I don't mean kids being naughty and throwing a rubber across the classroom. I mean your learning behavior, your response to a knock. I think it's the same in, you and I play sport together. It's the same in sport, whether you're trying to get good at sport, whether you're trying to get good at maths, whether you're trying to get good in your career. Those messages I don't think they're rocket science. And I think they can be learned. So, the opportunity to talk to you in front of your audience and see if any adults out there pick up the message would be, I just want to see people grow, whether they're young people, whether they're adults.
Love it, Robbo. It's totally like transferable in my opinion as well. Like you see a lot of people like get their confidence knocked in a certain situation or given situation, like in maths or whatever. I'm one of those weirdos who actually like maths at school as well. So it's like, yeah. So that's interesting. But yeah.
You like it? Out of interest, why did you like it?
I liked it because I'm very left-brained and I'm very like, I like to know the answer to something. So I'm always like, I've got to know the answer to something. And I was very good at like working out strategically, like what are the right numbers. And also it's like, I'd always come up with the answer. And also one of my best friends at school was like, he was doing like A levels when he was like GCSE, not that I copied him or anything like that, but anyway, it's quite interesting.
You were inspired by a friend. I see that a lot.
Inspired by a friend, yeah, exactly, yeah. So like, Robbo, like if we like just going back to, when sometimes our confidence is knocked and we get like a setback a little bit, like you probably see that a lot in like with your students or like maybe like day to day in general as well, when like something's like knocked them back. Like, what's the thing that gets like people back up again and like you see that allows them to keep going and like when they've had a setback they can get going again?
When they've had a setback and can get going again, for some people it's a fearlessness. Some students are just utterly fearless, and they just throw something out there and it's wrong, and they throw a further thing out there and it's wrong, and a further thing out there. That mindset of every wrong is closer to a right. If I try everything, like you mentioned, like the logical way that maths works, if I try everything, eventually I will land at the right thing. And that reviewing They interrogate their answer. That's not right. What's not right about it? And what do we need to tweak to make it right? Which, for any of your listeners who are in a pickle in their careers, for example, that level of interrogation, what's not quite right here? What is it that needs to change? What is right about what I'm doing here? What is not quite right about what I'm doing here? What do I need to change? There's that level. But that fearlessness, I think, comes from a place of success. And it's it's interesting. You see this, the students, like, I imagine like you and your friend were at school, you experience success. And then when you have a knockback, you are willing to go again because your experience is generally one of success. You'll have to go to a finer professor than I to find out what is the point where someone's had so many knocks that they can't go again. They've lost that will to try again. The students that I'm most pleased, you get students who get a grade 9, a grade 8, which is AA star back from our day. The grade 8s to grade 9 students, they've come from a level of success. They haven't come from nowhere and then all of a sudden, wallop, off you go, there's my grade 8, grade 9. They've experienced, they come to secondary school, they're a level of success already, and that success continues because they're fueled by past success. It's the students at the other end of the data scale. When I look at them when they're 11 years old and they come in and their data is at the very bottom, you see some people who stay near the very bottom. You see some people who really climb. And the only thing I can attribute that to is sheer will. Just, I don't care how many times you knock me, I am going to go again because this has to be done and I'm going to do it. They employ an awful lot of things along the way, just sheer hard work. They get every revision book under the sun and specifically do intelligent things like, what are the things I'm weak at? Right, I'm doing that page tonight, that page tomorrow, that page the day after. They constantly ask the teachers extra questions. Now, I can't name this student, but it's from this cohort in May, June, who was not projected at any point to pass mathematics. And her data from primary school would not suggest she's going to join a group of people who pass mathematics, but she passed. She passed because every single opportunity we gave her as a student to revise, she was there. She asked so many questions. Just, what can I do differently? Why is that not right? She interrogated everything, and the drive and determination that there was, and in the end, there was no stopping her because she had gone down every single route, whether it was success or not, that she'd learned which routes led to success. And this is just hours and hours and hours of endeavor and seeking that feedback and that willingness to explore. You get some students in her position who have experienced those knockbacks so often that they are deflated and they can't go again. I think, you don't want me on the podcast. You want this girl because you'd need to ask her. You wouldn't give in. Everything was against you. Your data was against you. Your target, your projected grade was against you. Yet you would not accept that. You went, I'm going to try everything. And she gets there in the end. She's the inspirational one to me, not the students who get the 8s and the 9s, the ones who experience a lot of failure and just do not lose that will, that drive, that sheer determination. I am getting there. I think that's a huge thing for students. And you experience that as adults. We get knocks all the time, and you can get deflated, you can get down, or you can just go, there is no choice but forward. I have to do this. I have to keep going. I have to keep interrogating. I have to keep responding to feedback. I'm going to get there eventually, but it's difficult, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that example of the student you'd work, you were describing there. For you, like, I don't know, like if it's something that you've experienced or even talking to these individuals, not the ones who had like been on this momentum of getting these good grades and everything like that, but do you find like there's like there's a strong why or a strong drive behind some of these students who like the odds are against them, yet they seem to do well?
I think it's a bit of it comes from goal setting, because we set, as adults, we set ourselves goals. We wake up on the 1st of January, I'm going to achieve this year, etc. Or this
Go
month
to
I've
the
got
gym.
to.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Go to the gym, I said. Yeah, the classic one.
Classic, but it's that's too vague. Go to the gym is too vague. Go to the gym for
Yes.
what? Where do you want to get to? What's the point in going to the gym? Are you trying to improve your ability to squat? Are you trying to improve your ability to cycle? The kids who get there have a very targeted goal, and that goal is, where do I want to go? Because when you're 16, if you have not passed maths and English, your where do I go is incredibly limited. If you pass maths and English to a certain level, you can go here. If you pass it, you can go in lots of places. If you don't pass it, you're not. It's really, you have to just keep resitting it, and it really limits what you can do when you go to college, and it limits your apprenticeship options, etc., etc. It's the kids with a really clear goal that won't take their eyes off that goal. I have to get there. That's my drive. There is no other option. Well, there is the other option. I can do that, but that path is dark, and I don't want to go down there. I have to go that way. I've got to get onto this course because that course is me. I'm going to love that. They've got a clear end in mind, and they won't let it go. That's the difference. They're willing to overcome all these knocks because they are so determined to get to that point of, I can go to this institution to do that course as long as I get these grades. So, take that to your person at the gym in the 1st of January. Are you just wandering around the gym, touching whatever equipment you feel like touching, or have you got a goal in mind that's actually going to, just, I think at the same time as getting that gym membership on the 1st of January, you put yourself in for a half marathon on the 1st of July, because then the goal ain't moving, and you've got to keep going to that gym to do something,
Yeah, love that. Getting really specific. And honestly, Robert, I think a lot of us, I talk to a lot of people on obviously the podcast, and it's, I think, a challenge, including one of my mentors I have the privilege of working for, but he talks a lot about, like, we say what we don't want, like, I don't want this, I don't want to like fail this, but it's like, what do you want, and being really specific. So I love what you said there about actually them being like really clear, and this can apply to like adults as well, like, why are you going to the gym for? And yeah, I'm training for this half marathon on the 1st of July, or whatever you're moving towards. One of the challenges, not just as teenagers but as adults as well, that I typically talk to people about, and I know it's been the case in my life, is comparison. And actually, maybe it's a student comparing themselves to another, or a student just like thinking, oh, so-and-so's thing's so great. Is comparison something you come across a lot in your world, and a bit of a challenge?
It's a huge problem, and it frames people's mindsets in all sorts of ways. I mean, there's a couple of things that immediately spring to mind. One is in the realm of mathematics, one is in the realm of their social lives and their social media. And in the frame of mathematics, we as educators, there's a huge debate going on in the background. There's an astonishing amount of people working in the background of the education system, trying to make it as good as it can possibly be. And the big debate amongst way more qualified people than I is, should we set in mathematics or should we not set in mathematics? So the second I put you in set 6 of 10, you have a frame in your head of where you are by comparison to your peers. I'm not near the top. If I put you, Lord forbid, I put you in set 9 of 10 or 10 of 10, that's a label, and that label can do all sorts to your mindset. It's the kids that ignore that label and go, I can be anything. You're putting me there now. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove. So, think of there is no adult out there who hasn't applied for that promotion and not got it, and applied again and not got it. And you can say to yourself at that point, okay, this is my level, this is my label, I am what I am, and I'm stuck. Or try a different route. Have you interrogated every single route? Because you can accept it, or you can just go, no, that's not me. That label that you're putting on me, I'm bigger than that, I'm better than that. I'm going to find a way around it. And that comes back to that will, that drive, that determination. But at the starting point, and for too many kids, it follows through that when we put you in that group, you label yourself and you have a very fixed mindset about this is what's going to happen because this is where I have been placed. So that comparison, as soon as we do that, well, I'm not the best in maths. In fact, I'm quite the other end of the scale. It's quite a sad, yeah, it's the kids in those lower classes who just ignore the label and go for it and arrive to class with the attitude, I'm going for this today. I'm going to be the best I can be. That is what we're meant to do today. I'm going to do it and I'm going to ask for more because I want to get higher than this. I want to go higher than this. They're the ones who are the real heroes. I think for many of those kids, comparing yourself to your peers, if you're in one of those lower sets, comparing yourself to your peers is a painful experience because you are statistically less able than them at mathematics. So that comparison doesn't do you any good. Comparing yourself to yourself is the most powerful thing you can do. And when you get a test paper back in maths, there's 30 people getting a test paper back and everybody's going, oh, I got to grade this, I got to grade that, I got to grade that. And you're sat there with your grade and you're listening to all this. Don't listen. It is irrelevant. Like, stop listening to everything out there and listen to yourself. Where was I? Where am I now? Am I going in the right direction? That might be a yes, that might be a no. What are you going to do about that? If you're not going anywhere, you need to change something. If you are going in the right direction, huge kudos. Well done. You compare yourself to yourself and then your target. Where do I need to get to? If I've got from that modest level to a slightly improved level and I need to get to there, am I going in the right direction for me and where I was, where I am, where I'm going to? When you listen to the external noise, it's noisy and it's not always positive. So compare yourself to yourself would be the message. Well, it is the message I give to students all the time. I often say when I give back test papers, I don't care what you've got. Some of you might have 19%, some of you might have 90%. I just don't care. What I care about is your response. That's all I care about. If you've got 90%, where's the extra 10%? If you've got 19%, are you willing to try again? Because I guarantee you, if you try again, I've given you the 20 questions, I've given you 20 wrong answers. You need to think about, why is that wrong and what might I do differently? I guarantee you, if you try those questions again, the ones you've got wrong, I guarantee your mark goes to 30 to 40 to 50%. It's all about that response rather than the comparison. And I'm not there because I'm so far behind my peers.
I love that. And one of my mentors, he says actually, self to self for your progress, and then self to others for possibility, which I think is really good, because often we look at someone else and we think self to someone else to look at my progress. It's like, oh, they're so far ahead of me and all these kind of things. But actually, when you look at someone else, it's actually, if they're doing well, it's like, oh, that's possible for me as well. But actually, then you can look at your own journey and actually see your own progress. So, yeah, I love that. And actually, being honest yourself, having those conversations, like, is this what I wanted? Is this not, like, where am I on the journey? So, yeah, and I think, like, not just like obviously the kids or teenagers you work with, but I think it's a general challenging thing in the social media world as well that we live in. Like Robbo, obviously as a teacher, as someone up there, like, do you ever get we were talking a little bit before the show, and I know, like, whether it's your experience or like another teacher's experience, have you ever, like, encountered someone with this, like, almost imposter syndrome, or kind of like these doubts, am I worthy of leading these kids? And what kind of separates those who are able to move through it from those who aren't?
Again, I can only give you an opinion on this. You'll have to talk to
of course.
way more qualified people.
Yeah, of course.
I do answer to this thing, but I see this a lot. We've got a tragedy in education at the minute that 1 in 3 new teachers aren't there within 5 years because you have this idea of what teaching is and what you could bring to it, and this hope for what you could give to loads of young people across the nation. And then you get there and really, really hard. It's really hard. And you stand in front of a class for the first time, and wow, is that weird? It's beyond weird. And then you get a couple of years into your career, you've got to stand in front of that class for 4 or 5 hours every single day. And that could be 30 teenagers at 9 a.m., 30 teenagers at 10 a.m. Yeah, by the time you got to 5 lots of 30 teenagers, you've stood in front of 130 kids, 150 kids. So there is no way, even for somebody who's been in it 16 years, I am fully in control of all of this. I have no anxiety. I can present this mathematical idea to you 30, and then present this mathematical idea to you 30, and then this, and you can't be in full control of everyone throughout the entire day. You're going to feel an anxiety, and you're going to feel an anxiety because you might not have that confidence at that specific thing in that day. It might not be your specific thing. I'm great at these 4 areas. I'm not so great at that area. And I've got to teach that to these really able kids. Ouch, that's going to be difficult. They're definitely, it's only a matter of time before they overtake me in terms of academic ability. I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I've got to try and teach this thing to them. And it can really knock your esteem. And then the other one is just, they're teenagers. They're awesome and hilarious and so like malleable in a joyous way, but they are, especially the puberty years, boundaries. Let's push them, let's test them. You are constantly tested all day, every day. So that anxiety, even when you start, it is truly anxiety. It really is a deep anxiety. But when you get to my stage, it's just, we're not 100% great every day. You wake up some days and you're like, just, I've not got my usual energy today. They're going to bring a load of energy. Can I match it? Can I be it? So you can't escape this anxiety with what you have to do. I think the difference is it's letting it get the better of you, or it's projecting it, I think, is the danger. If you project that anxiety externally, people can see it. And there's lots of ways you can project anxiety. One of the things I say to new trainees all the time is, have you ever videoed yourself at the front of the lesson? I'm not saying video the whole class. I'm just saying put a video camera on that front desk pointed at you and look at yourself. How are you standing? Like, are you like that? Are you backing away from the young people? Or are you right there, nice and relaxed, just projecting confidence? And that can make a massive difference, because when I'm not feeling it, when I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety, what I have to consciously, and this is the problem because it's conscious, unconscious, you don't know you're doing it. I have to recognize that anxiety and go, I'm not to project it. They will not believe me. This group of very, very able A-level students, year 13, doing that complex bit of mathematics. I have worked so hard to master it on a Sunday to present it to them on a Monday, and I'm anxious about doing so. I can't let that anxiety project, because then I'm not credible. And worse still, if I let that anxiety project, it will engulf me. My anxiety will just continue to engulf me. I have to just remain calm, project confidence, because my confidence in my physical projection will lead to a confidence in them. If I've really worked on, this is how I'm going to present it, and then I present myself confidently, it just flows more confidently. And I think that's the difference when the teachers who sadly don't make it 1 in 3 within 5 years can't quite project that confidence, and that, the way that those 30 teenagers in front of them react is based on how you project yourself. You'll read all sorts of stuff on this. It's 6% of what we say is verbal, 78% of what we say is body language, etc., etc. It's being able to control that latter element, the body language, and project it. There's a lot of research which suggests your body language can actually impact your your inner feeling. There are tests where they've sent students into exam halls and they've asked one group just to sit there and think about what they're about to do. They've asked the other group to get on their feet, stand there and go.
Power pose, yeah.
And then they walk in the hall and they produce. There's really funny things that are working in the background of us in terms of human behavior. And it can be harnessed, or quite the opposite. It can really do you in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, love that. Is like for you, is there like a point of, I don't know, like, but maybe in like your earlier days as teaching and stuff, but is there a point that you kind of like reflect on like how you're feeling and sit with yourself at all? Or is that something you do, like just do general reflections on how the day went and things like that? Just be interested to know.
General reflections on how the day went, or general reflections on how I'm feeling? I mean, they're two.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, good challenge. So yeah, I would say that it's more about how you're feeling like after a day, or particularly if it's a challenging day.
So I think the challenging days are due to it's largely, yeah, I can only talk from my personal experience. It's the number of interactions you have as a teacher. The negative days are the ones where the interactions turn negative. For whatever, I am trying to get these young people to be the best they can be, to believe that they can be the best they can be, and to really put their heart and soul into that. But it doesn't always go to plan. And then you have to be at your like most patient and positive to try and help young people lift themselves the highest place they can be. But it doesn't always go perfectly. So it's when it goes a little awry, that's when I stop. That's what makes me feel, because that is my goal. My goal is to help these kids be brilliant, and I can't do it with negative interactions. So there's negative interactions that drain me and leave me feeling like I failed at the end of a day. I make sure I have a good think about them, a reflection on where did it come from? What did I do to fuel that? Because it's very easy to go, the kid's fault. You should have seen him. Kid's fault. I can do something. There is no way. The amount of baggage that people have, the amount of baggage that some teenagers can have, because I don't know where they've come from. I don't know what's happened in their day so far. I don't know what's happening in their lives outside of school. We get certain feedback. We don't get everything. So if somebody's come in a little bit antagonistic, what have I done to fuel that? What haven't I done to enable them to use some calming, controlling mechanisms on themselves? So if I feel like I've not succeeded in a day because of interactions, I'm going to research those myself, reflect what is it I could have done differently? Is there something I did that was really negative that I probably need to go and have a conversation with that kid about tomorrow and say, do you know what? That was too quick to give you 3 warnings and send you out, etc. What I should have done is this. Apologies on my part. And if I'm honest like that, the kid will be honest back, and then we start to build that mutual respect. The other thing is the shutting it off once you've reflected, because I think the reason it gets overwhelming, and this will be where 1 in 3 teachers leaving within 5 years, is because it gets overwhelming. And that'll be why a lot of people in other careers start to feel they're not succeeding, because those negatives are becoming overwhelming. They're not recognizing their successes. They're dwelling too much on the negatives. And I think I'm not coming to big myself up in any way, but I think the thing I'm good at is, if that hasn't gone well, I'm going to try and analyze why it's not gone well. And I'm going to park it. And I'm going to say, what did go well today? Like, what was successful? I had 3 great lessons. I had 1 okay one, and I had 1 really bad one. So I'll dwell on the really bad one for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll park it. I'll decide what I need to do tomorrow to make that better, or to make it right, to make amends, to talk to a kid, etc. Then I'm parking it. And I'm going to grab like 2 or 3 thoughts of what went really well today, park those, implant those, and leave them there all night, because I can't leave myself in a negative cycle. I can't leave myself talking to myself negatively and feeling like a failure. There is no way I'm going to succeed at everything all day, every day. But I'm going to walk away with successful thoughts, because there's no way I've failed at everything that day either. And I think I'm quite good at regulating myself like that. And the teachers who survive are quite good at doing that, taking that and parking it. You're not welcome overnight, you negative thoughts. You're not welcome to dwell throughout my week. I'm going to reflect on you and deal with you tomorrow.
Love it. Yeah, it's I love the way you've kind of like shared how you like process things, but you also sort of like parking it as well, or being able to kind of like not get too caught up in it. So I really appreciate that, Robbo. Yeah, Robbo, just to kind of sort of like round off today, really appreciate everything that you shared, from your view as a teacher, how you've kind of like observed obviously teenagers going through, and your own experience. And I think that it's not just teaching. I think this applies to most areas in life. So once again, I want to thank you for coming on today. Is there any final point that you'd like to share just before we round off today?
Final point, I'd say coming back to the difference between the kids who, between the ages of 11 and 16, they fly and reach their full potential, or they don't. Whether that full potential is a grade 9 or just a pass, whatever it might be. I think the difference is a fear of failure. And I don't think you covered this in so many interesting different ways in your podcast. We learn this. I went for a run earlier, and my running route takes me past a play park, and it inspires me every time, because there are people at the top of a climbing frame who really shouldn't be there. You're 2 foot tall and you're 15 foot up in the air. It doesn't take a mathematician or someone who's expert at physics to tell you what could go wrong in that moment. Yet the kid is fearless, because fear is something we learn. It's only once that kid has fallen and really hurt themselves, that's when they stop climbing. And I think that's a great metaphor for life. There are too many adults out there who are scared of the climbing frame. Whatever that climbing frame might be for you, when you were little, you weren't scared when you stood on your 2 feet for the first time, and you weren't scared when you put 1 foot in front of the other. I guarantee you fell over the first 50 times, but you didn't stop. You kept going. Somewhere along the way, we've lost that. And that's the difference between kids who make it between 11 and 16 and adults who make the best of themselves, or adults that don't. Whatever we can do to acknowledge, why have I learned that fear? What are the things that are impacting on me that have created this? I can't do this. I don't want to do this. What would it look like if I wasn't scared of the climbing frame? What would it look like if I just got up there again and went again? And I might fall, but I can go again. I can constantly go again, as long as I don't have that fear. I think that's the most, that's the thing I like to say to children about, I've got a picture of my niece is 13 now, got a picture of her when she was a lot younger, and it is wonderfully captured. It's her on the brink of about to hit the deck. And I have it on my school computer, and I can show it at any point to young people, because I remind them, you might be 15 now and finding this difficult. There was a time when you couldn't even walk, but you had no fear to try. You fell over loads of times. We might fall over today, because this bit of maths is hard, but we're going to keep getting up, because that's what we do. That's how we keep moving forward in life. And I think that's that for me is the most powerful message I think that people can receive, whether they're teenagers, whether they're adults. I think that's the best thing.
Love it. That's a great message to end out on. So thank you once again, Robbo, for coming on the show today.
Absolute pleasure, Johnny, and thank you for all the energy that you put into just helping all the people who listen to your podcast out there. I know you, and I know what you put into this, and I know it comes from a good place. So well done, you, Johnny.
Oh, thanks, man. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember, you are in control of your own self-esteem and confidence.